Since October is just around the corner, I like to start playing scarier games, so I went on Steam and searched by the highest amount of reviews of horror games. Outlast 2 was the first real candidate, and I'd beaten the first game, so I bought it and played through it. But Outlast 2 has a pretty vastly different premise than the first game. In the first game, it takes place in a mental asylum, but Outlast 2 starts off in a helicopter, and the helicopter gets shot down. From there on, the entire plot is wandering around some redneck villages and forests, kind of like Resident Evil 4, and you're looking for your missing wife. You soon discover you're in a fucked up place, because there's all sorts of random crucified people, and decapitated heads, and warnings all over the place, and that's where things really take off. You have a video recorder with night vision, which is essential, and batteries which drain. You can also turn on a microphone for your camera to help track where the enemies are, but other than that there's not much more to the itemization or mechanics. You can sprint, slide, climb, and even look beyond your shoulder. You can use a bandage when you get hurt, but that's really about it. Where the game really sells itself is in the graphics and attention to detail. The environmental storytelling is kinda top notch too. Frequently I just found myself just stopping to zoom in on random things in the environment with my camera, just admiring all the details and piecing together things. It's a visually impressive game, and there's tons of things in the environment to just stop and look at and get more information from. You sometimes get teleported to a dreamlike school environment randomly, and there's papers all over the walls, and you can zoom in super close and read everything in perfect detail. It's cool and immersive. The game even subtly rewards you for doing this, because there are moments where you can record by looking at them with your camera. Then a red circle appears, and it captures it. You can then press a button to open your camera and re-watch all the key moments you've recorded, with additional commentary from the main character. There's a ton of gore, and it's some of the most over-the-top creepy stuff I've seen in a game. Faces peeled off, dismembered, eyes being eaten by insects. It's like the whole game is a full-motion Cannibal Corpse album cover. You can zoom in close to see the insects moving on corpses in full detail. The textures in particular are super high quality, which really adds to the environmental storytelling. It's extremely explicit with full nudity, torture scenes, dead babies, penises hanging out on dismembered and crucified people. It's intense. Maybe one of the most shocking games I've ever played. I was skimming the Steam forums, and one of the top posts was, "How is this game not banned?" Yeah, I can see how someone would think that. It's on the same level as depraved horror movies like Salò 120 Days of Sodom, Human Centipede, or even Cannibal Holocaust. It's that type of shock value. The story is simplistic but immersive the whole way through. You find notes scattered around that have great writing and tone about these two cults, the Christians and the heretics, who are at war with each other, or something like that. But also the Christians want to prevent the birth of the Antichrist, so they go around killing every baby and child they can. It's crazy and dark, edgy stuff. You find pits of dead babies, and watch torture scenes, and at one point you even get crucified yourself. It's pretty intense. But the story isn't like a massive exposition of dumping information at you. It always keeps it brief and isn't very involved or anything. I think it's well done. The dialogue on the notes is crazy and very well written, though the gameplay has some questionable and frustrating parts. Unlike other horror games, there's virtually no puzzles. There is no inventory, and there's almost no items to pick up or collect. Only a few times will you have to go around and find a specific item to progress, maybe like 2 or 3 times in the whole game. Other than that, the bulk of the gameplay is just sneaking past enemies. However, they do try to make up for the lack of puzzles with frequent chase sequences, where you automatically get caught and have to escape. This would be fine if it happened rarely, but it happens so frequently that you start to get desensitized, and it becomes a constant trial and error death fest, where you keep dying over and over until you find the exact specific path it wants you to go down. Which is extra hard, because the game is so fucking dark, even with night vision on. Dying multiple times per checkpoint really does make the game less scary, because you lose the suspense and what if factor, and it just becomes something you expect, so you lose that anticipation. The game does too many of this, haha, got you died. Too much trial and error. This is actually made even more frustrating because it's actually the most visually disorienting and confusing game I've ever played. There are constant visual effects all over your screen, especially any section with water or rain. Your screen becomes so damn blurry and covered in water effects that it's very dizzying and nauseating to play. I get physically nauseated and get a headache playing this game. It's so dark that for most of the game, you'll be walking around in complete pitch black, running up against walls and trees, hopelessly trying to find where to go. On the one hand, it makes for a sort of terrifying experience, but on the other hand, it just feels bullshit when you have enemies chasing you and you're left feeling like you drank a bottle of whiskey, stumbling around like a moron without being able to see anything. The night vision effect also tends to make the graphics super blurry, so it all gets added on top of each other to be a really confusing mess to navigate. There are a few sections in particular that was just very bullshit. One of them is the infamous cart scene, where you have to push a cart up against a fence and jump over, but as soon as you touch the cart, there's a pitchfork lady enemy that automatically spots you. From there on, you have to run around, hiding in barrels and random places, waiting for the music to stop to go back to the cart and try to push it without being caught. The problem is every single time you seem to push the cart, she instantly teleports to you, or knows where you are. It's a very hard section. Probably took me like 20 tries to get past it, and I only did it by basically figuring out that the AI is stupid and doesn't crawl under fences, so I exploited the AI pathing to do it. Really unfortunate that the game has problems like that, and it seems like at certain times, the AI just teleports to you no matter what. Like I said, it does make the game actually lose some suspense, because you get caught in this stupid loop of dying over and over, where all suspense is lost. There are multiple difficulties. I think I picked difficulty 3 out of 5, but I don't know what it does. I think all the difficulty does is lower the amount of batteries and bandages you get, or how fast your night vision drains, and how many hits it takes to kill you. Well, I was dying in 1 to 3 hits, and I never once ran out of batteries, so I don't know. I almost think the game would be much scarier on the easiest difficulty, because at least you won't constantly be dying in these death loops where it just feels stupid and bullshit. Instead, you'll be in a state of constant progress and suspense, wondering what will happen if you do get caught. And in my opinion, it's kind of a design flaw. If you want to make people scared, they're probably not going to assume that picking the easiest difficulty is what's going to scare them the most. There's a lot of enemy variety. You have outback village type people, but as the game progresses, you find more and more twisted and fucked up things. Like guys that look like they blew their face off with a shotgun, but are still alive, and in weird animal form chasing after you. There's also weird zombie type monsters, but overall the monsters are very well done. You don't only crawl through villages and forests. Like I said, you'll be bursting in and out of this dreamlike school sequence, running through brief halls with supernatural things chasing after you. Other times, towards the end of the game, you go across in a lake in a long-winded raft sequence, almost like something out of Resident Evil 4 again. There's snowy areas in the dreamlike world, and there's blood-red raining skies, churches and chapels, those sorts of things. It's varied enough where it doesn't feel like you're just doing the same thing over and over the whole time. It's pretty funny how I played Amnesia Rebirth before this, and that game was terrible. It's a really funny coincidence that I just happened to pick 2 back-to-back games that have a plot about pregnancy and even have childbirth scenes. What are the odds? I think this pregnancy and childbirth thing is like a trope in horror games. I will say though that the childbirth scene in this game is way more intense and graphic and disgusting than Amnesia Rebirth. This game makes Amnesia Rebirth seem like PG-13 family friendly, and Outlast is like underground deep web snuff film or some shit in comparison. All in all, it's a pretty great horror experience, with some stupid trial and error bullshit segments, and a few other minor visibility issues. The environmental storytelling and plot is good enough that I'd even consider playing this game again. It's like the perfect game to play if you have guests over that you want to scare. It's like watching a horror movie with them, but it's even more intense and immersive. There's enough details and graphical fidelity that playing through it again, just to look around and zoom in on all the objects and crazy gore and all the weird things, that it would still be interesting. The graphics are awesome. I kind of like that it doesn't have a hardcore emphasis on puzzle solving, like all the other horror games. That's really refreshing. Though the game could have been way better if some of the AI teleporting shit was gone, or the automatic chase scenes were a little bit less janky. Not knowing where to go, running into dead ends while being chased, because the visuals are so disorienting. 8 out of 10.
I killed my children. All of them. Every last one. There's no more perfect faith than that. And still, God is silent. Kill that child if you can. If you love anything at all, crush its skull under your heel. I know God doesn't hear dead men, but I expect he answers them.